Have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot!
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Scotty Talks NBA. As you know, I am your host, Scotty. You can find me on all social media accounts at Scotty Drown. That is the handle. Of course, we are streaming to you live on DSM Media. You can find DSM Media on all social media networks, including Twitter at DSM_media. That's going to be where the bulk of our content comes out. You can also find us on TikTok. We're pretty active on there as well, at DSM Media. And then, of course, on Instagram, you can find us at dsm.DoSomethingMajor. The main place you want to find us is going to be on YouTube. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Turn the notifications on if they're not already on, of course, so you're notified every single time DSM goes live. Of course, we're going to get into some NBA action today, right? As always, as we do every Wednesday here on Scotty Talks NBA. A few things I want to go over. Obviously, we're going to talk about last night's action as we do every Wednesday, Tuesday night recap. Then we're going to talk about Donovan Mitchell and that 71-point performance that he had the other night, which was incredible. To put it at the very least, it was incredible. And it was kind of, it kind of fell under storm, right? You had the DeMar Hamlin, which sending prayers out to him. You had that unfortunate occurrence happened around the same time as this DMitch 71-point performance took place. So it kind of got overwhelmed. We're not going to skip on it, though. We're going to talk about it today. It's one of the best performances in NBA history, quite honestly. I also want to talk about who's the best in the Eastern Conference, because we have a new team that has kind of entered the scene here, and it's the Brooklyn Nets. And they've kind of removed one team out for me, and that's the Milwaukee Bucks. So I want to talk about who's the best team in the East, but we're going to talk about the Brooklyn Nets and the Boston Celtics, not the Boston Celtics and the Milwaukee Bucks anymore. We're going to talk about the Nets and the Celtics, because I think those are the two best teams in the East right now by far. As well as that, we'll get into Wednesday night picks, updated power rankings, and then, of course, best bets to end the show off here. Before we get into all of that, of course, I want to shout out our sponsors over at Gents Barber Lounge. DSM Media is brought to you by Gents Barber Lounge. Check out one of the two great locations in Fishtown and Old City and book your appointment today. Gents owns the craft, and it shows. Rated the #1 barbershop on Yelp in the Philadelphia area. Multiple award-winning barbers and being able to handle any style of cut, adult or kid. Here is a look at some of Gents' work. All right, perfect. Shout out to Gents Barber Lounge. Be sure to check out gentsbarberlounge.com. Book your appointment today. And, of course, shout out to our other sponsors over at Luxodon.com. Head over to Luxodon.com. Find something you like. Use DSM code at checkout for 25% off and free shipping. With that being said, guys, let's get into tonight's action. I actually want to start at DMitch's 71-point performance. We're going to go in order here. That happened first. Then we'll get into Tuesday night's recap. So obviously, as you should know by now, Donovan Mitchell scored 71 points the other night versus the Chicago Bulls in an overtime matchup where the Cavs came away with a victory, 145-134. There's a couple things that I just want to talk about with this performance, kind of show you where this ranks throughout history. Little history lesson for yourself and myself. I learned this as I looked it up, so I'm just sharing the wealth here. But you look at this performance from Donovan Mitchell, 71 points, 11 assists, 8 rebounds, and 1 block. He did it efficiently. He only missed 12 shots on the night. He's 22 from 34. You talk about volume and efficiency. He was 7 for 15 from the three-point line, so shot just under 50% from the free throw line. Just a little under 50% from the three-point line, and then 20 for 25 from the free throw line. So he shot efficiently all over the floor. And then you talk about where does this place him in history, right? He's only the 7th player in NBA history to eclipse 70 points. It's actually unbelievable. When you look at the 70-point club, it kind of makes sense. You look at these players that are in the club. Um, you wouldn't question any of them. There's actually a couple guys missing that I would expect, but 70 points isn't an easy feat. There's no LeBron in this club. There's no Steph Curry's on here. No Michael Jordan on this list. So it's a very exclusive list, right? You talk about NBA greats. There's only a few of them on here when you talk about a group of 7. So when you look at the rest of the 70-plus point club, we have Wilt Chamberlain. Obviously, he had the 100 points. That's the most in NBA history. We had Kobe Bryant. We all should have. Well, I shouldn't say all. I'm sure there's some young viewers out there that may not have witnessed that Kobe Bryant game against the Toronto Raptors a few years back. David Thompson, David Robinson. Remember his time? I actually did not know that he had a 70-point game, so I learned that. Elgin Baylor, he was a hooper. He was a walking bucket, so it doesn't surprise me, but I did not know that either. Devin Booker, I, of course, remember that performance. Devin Booker kind of solidifying himself as one of the all-time great scorers in the NBA as far as one-time performances. And then, of course, DMitch to round out the club of 7. It's an exclusive club, right? So just to recap, Wilt Chamberlain, Kobe Bryant, David Thompson, David Robinson, Elgin Baylor, Devin Booker, and Donovan Mitchell, the only players to ever eclipse 70-plus points in a game. You talk about Donovan Mitchell exclusively. He's the only player to ever eclipse 70 points and 10 assists in one game. And he's actually second in points accounted for in a game. Once again, behind Wilt Chamberlain at 104 points. He had 100 points and 2 assists, of course. And then Donovan Mitchell in this one accounting for 99 points, 71 plus the 11 assists. So just a crazy performance. Obviously, Kevin Love had some choice words after this game, calling it the best performance he's ever seen in his career, in his lifetime. And you think back, Kevin Love's career, he's been around talent for quite a while now. You talk about LeBron, Kyrie Irving, and LeBron and Kyrie Irving would come second to this performance in Cleveland Cavs history for Kevin Love, I should say, while he's been there. They each had 57-point games. Certainly doesn't match to the 71. And you talk about how this game kind of played out throughout. Cavs were kind of down in this one. They were down by 21 at one point. Donovan Mitchell turns it on in the second and third quarter and brings his team back in overtime. It was an incredible feat, incredible performance. Didn't want to gloss over that. Didn't want to let that get missed because that is a piece of history that, quite honestly, we should never forget. It's an exclusive club, as you see here, with only 7 players ever done it. So shout out to Donovan Mitchell. And, man, you talk about a team, the Cleveland Cavaliers, who have been number 1 in defensive rating, number 1 in opponent points per game for most of this season, and they have a guy that can eclipse 70 points on the roster as well. That's what you do when you add a Donovan Mitchell. I talked about my defensive concerns for Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. I guess when you have Evan Mobley and Jared Allen behind you, you don't have to worry about that too much. And when you have a punch like Darius Garland, like Donovan Mitchell, we've seen Darius Garland eclipse 50 points this season. Now you see Donovan Mitchell go over 70. What is the Cavs ceiling here, right? Sky is the ceiling. It's kind of crazy to think about. This is your number 1 rated defensive team in the NBA, but they have 2 elite top scorers in the NBA. But shout out to DMitch. Hell of an accomplishment, hell of a performance. And let's see what's next because they play tonight, man. But let's get into some of the action from last night, Tuesday night's action, as always. You look at the recap last night, we had a matchup between the Washington Wizards and the Milwaukee Bucks. In this game, you talk about feats, you talk about incredible accomplishments. Giannis in this game, 55 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists. This was to snap a Milwaukee losing streak of three games, I believe. Yeah, 3 games. 3-game losing streak for Milwaukee. Snaps it last night against the Washington Wizards in a 123-113 win at home. We also had Brook Lopez in this game. Shout out to my man Dylan. He smashed the double-double, and Brook Lopez had a crazy payout for it last night. I think he put down $20 and it paid out $250, something crazy like that. Brook Lopez, 21 points, 12 rebounds. And then on the other side, we had Kristaps Porzingis with 22 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists. Only 3 games last night, so we got 2 more here. We had the Boston Celtics at the Oklahoma City Thunder. I'm not sure I would have predicted this one right. No SGA in this game, but the Thunder win this one 150-117. At home, they were able to take care of the Boston Celtics. Their starters really didn't need to play most of the fourth quarter. So nonetheless, a good win for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Surprising loss for the Boston Celtics. You had Josh Giddey, one of my favorite players in the league. I've been trying to watch the Thunder as much as I can. They're young. They're not that good of a team, so it's not that worthwhile to watch them all the time. But when I get a chance to tune in and see Josh Giddey, see SGA play, these are incredible players, incredible talent they have there. And you talk about Chet Holmgren. Obviously, he's out this season. When he gets back, man, if he can stay healthy, build his body up, that's going to be a hell of a team. That's a hell of a future they got there in OKC. Josh Giddey in this one, 25 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, hit 3 threes in this one, was going at it, putting up 3 sets. Yeah, he has everything to go with it. He has all the swag. I actually love it. Shout out to my man Isaiah Joe, coming off the bench for the Oklahoma City Thunder, had 21 points in this one. Trey Mann also had 21 points off the bench, combining for 42 points between the two off the bench for Oklahoma City. In this one as well, you had Jaylen Brown on the other side with 29 points, Jason Tatum 27 points, 6 rebounds. Once again, a 117-150 loss for the Boston Celtics to the Oklahoma City Thunder. And then to round out the night, we had a showdown in Utah between the Sacramento Kings and the Utah Jazz. In this one, it came down to the wire. De'Aaron Fox was electric with 37 points, 6 assists. We had Domantas Sabonis with 21 points, 14 rebounds, 8 assists. That guy fills the stat sheet. He does it all, man. He's one of the more well-rounded players in the NBA. And then finally, we had Lauri Markkanen on the other side with 28 points, 8 rebounds. Jordan Clarkson chipping in with 24 points, showing how good of a scorer he is. Ultimately, had Sacramento Kings winning this one, 117-115. So good win nonetheless for the Sacramento Kings. Only a 3-game slate last night, so not too much Tuesday night action to actually get into here. So let's jump to the next segment, which is going to be the Celtics or the Nets. Who is the best in the East? And you guys probably think I'm crazy. Like, why doesn't he have the Bucks up there? The Bucks just haven't been playing very good basketball lately, guys. They're 4-6 in their last 10. Before last night, they had lost 3 or 4 in a row. So you look at the Milwaukee Bucks. Yeah, they're only about a game behind the Brooklyn Nets, 2 games behind the Boston Celtics. They're still in that conversation. And don't get me wrong, as Chris Middleton gets healthy, Drew Holiday gets healthy and can stay in the lineup more often, they'll be all right. Don't worry. Milwaukee's in that conversation. I want to talk about who's playing better right now, who's the better team right now. I don't think Milwaukee's up there with Brooklyn and Boston at the moment. We take a look at both of these teams. Obviously, the Brooklyn Nets are the hottest team in the NBA right now. The reason I want to bring it into perspective is ultimately to see what the Brooklyn Nets are doing here that is making them so successful versus what has been the best team in the NBA for majority of the season so far. So we look at the Nets right now. They're 25-12, second in the Eastern Conference. You have the Celtics 26-12, first in the Eastern Conference. You look at the Brooklyn Nets at home. They are 13-5 at home. You have the Celtics 15-5 at home. Brooklyn Nets 12-7 on the road. Celtics 11-7 on the road. So not much disparity between records, between home records, away records. It's not one team that plays much different from the other in disparity there. You look at points per game. So the best scoring teams in the NBA. You have the Boston Celtics. It's first. They're first in the NBA in scoring. They're the best offensive team in the NBA, led by Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, obviously. We have the Brooklyn Nets at 12th. So they're outside the top 10 in offense, despite having that tandem of KD and Kyrie. Now, obviously, Kyrie missed some time this season. Ben Simmons missed some time this season. They've had a lot of guys in and out of the lineup. They're finally getting it going now. So maybe that number increases as time goes on and they consistently have all their guys in the lineup. You go to the defensive side of the ball. We have the Boston Celtics 15th in opponents' points per game. You go over to the Brooklyn Nets side. They are 7th in opponents' points per game. So that, oh, thank you for tuning in, Philly Irish. I really needed this comment. I really needed it. Gives me a hell of a chuckle because you're not wrong. You're really not wrong. We're talking about right now what's hot. And don't worry, Philly. We know what happens around All-Star time, right? All-Star break. Ben turns it up a notch. So don't be surprised if the Nets take the number 1 seed right before All-Star break. Ben Simmons is looking like he's back to normal, back to that perennial All-Star. And right after the All-Star break, you just start to see it go downhill. You'll start to see him say the confidence goes away, the want, the motivation, right? The attention. It'll go away. He'll come back down to earth, and we'll see the same old, same old. Thank you for the comment, Philly Irish. I appreciate that, Drew. So you look at the difference between the Nets and the Celtics right now. There's really, first on offense for the Celtics, 12th on offense for the Nets, 7th on defense for the Nets, 15th on defense for the Celtics. So we saw the Celtics last season for majority of the season after, so I should say half the season, not majority. Half the season on that second half, they were the best team in basketball on the defensive side of the ball. So I imagine Robert Williams coming back, getting implemented in that lineup, they're going to get better at defense as long as they can stay healthy there. But they kind of even out, right? They kind of even out between offense and defensive ranking, both top 15 in both, right? Point differential, they're right there, plus 5.3 for the Celtics, plus 4.4 for the Nets. Really the difference is recent play, guys, and it's the Brooklyn Nets at 10-0 in their last 10, obviously, because they've won 12 in a row. They're the hottest team in the NBA. You look at the Boston Celtics; they've lost 2 in a row, and they're 5-5 in their last 10. They're not hot right now. You'll come on if I need it. Hey, I'll get you on here, Philly Irish. Definitely hit me up, man. We can definitely chat it down sometimes. I like to keep things organized, so not today, but definitely in the future, man. I will get you involved. Definitely hit me up. I appreciate you tuning in nonetheless, man. So you look at these teams. We're gonna get into power rankings next, so I'll obviously tell you who I have. And we can actually just do that now. Let's get into the power rankings. You talk about Celtics or Nets. Who's the best in the East right now in my book? I'm going with the Celtics. I still got the Celtics up there, despite things kind of pointing in the Nets' direction, right? They look like the hotter team right now, but there's just a lot of things that factor into that for me. Obviously, Jacques Vaughn has been a positive influence since the Steve Nash firing. That's what has gotten this Brooklyn Nets team elevated to a top 10 defensive team. And obviously, KD's he's been playing out of his mind at an MVP level. So you have Jason Tatum, you have KD. They probably, cancel each other out. You have Jaylen Brown, and then you have Kyrie Irving. I don't know. I'm taking Jaylen Brown in that situation. So I don't know if they cancel each other out because I just feel Jaylen Brown, 1, is more consistent, reliable. Jaylen Brown, 2, he's a little bit lengthier, right? He's a little bit more athletic. So I'm taking Jaylen Brown in there, and I'm not going to say that cancels itself out. And then you get down into role players, right? Ben Simmons, Royce O'Neal versus Marcus Smart, Al Horford. Grizzlies are at 3 for you, Drew. 3. So you got Grizzlies over Denver, which I think that's fair. You can kind of change those Western Conference teams as you please. You go down through the list. The reason I got the Boston Celtics at number 1, let's start at number 1. We'll work our way down. I got to go with longevity and consistency here. I know that the Nets, they are the hottest team in the NBA right now, but we're getting so deep into the season that I can't be as fluid anymore, right? There's a point in the NFL season where you start to realize who's real, who's wrong. And the reason I bring the NFL up is because NFL power rankings week to week are so much easier because you have a team only playing 1 game a week. The NBA, you have 3-4 games a week. So it's much harder to analyze, figure out where these guys belong in power rankings. Honestly, just since last night, the Boston Celtics have lost. You could argue 2 losses in a row, Celtics belong behind the Brooklyn Nets. I wouldn't argue against that. I'm just not going that way right now. With that being said, Boston Celtics have been the most consistently dominating team this season, and I'm not going to sleep on them for the Brooklyn Nets just over a 12 to 15 game span. I'm just not going to do that. We're way too deep into the season. Boston Celtics have been as consistent as anybody. And I really love what the Brooklyn Nets are doing. That's why I have them at number 2. That's no knock on them. They're picking up the steam now. But then you get to the Denver Nuggets, and you look at the Denver Nuggets. They're 24-13 right now. They've lost 1. They're actually still first in the Western Conference. They're 7-3 in their last 10. They're getting healthy. That's the key for me, having Denver up here. Jamal Murray's getting more accustomed. He's getting back in shape. You got Michael Porter Jr. getting more accustomed. He's had a few nice games in recent history. So I'm seeing these guys get on track. I'm seeing Bruce Brown get implemented. Christian Braun, who a rookie out of Kansas that I like, he's getting implemented a little there. Bones Highland off the bench, 6th man. I love what he does. Instant scoring punch. So that's why I have Denver there. They're the number 1 seed in the West. Honestly, you have Memphis up there. I had Memphis up there last week. So the Western Conference has been varying so much, Drew. That's why you're seeing the Denver Nuggets up there this week. Next week, you might see the Grizzlies. Maybe you see the Pelicans if Zion gets healthy. It's hard to say with the way the NBA has been going this year. That's why it's so impressive what the Boston Celtics have been doing. Kyrie is going to have an issue with something outside of the game and take a week off or 2. Yeah, hey, that's something that you can borderline count on in order to basically count the Nets out. So I'm not against you there. Who knows what will happen with Ben Simmons throughout the season. I'm sure we're not done with the drama there. So the Nets, you got to see it to believe it, right? We got to see more, but they have won 12 straight. That is why they're number 2 right now. Milwaukee Bucks, I talked about them a little already. 24-13 right now. 3rd in the Eastern Conference behind the Nets and the Celtics. They've won 1 in a row, obviously taking down the Washington Wizards last night in Milwaukee. They're 4-6 in their last 10, though, so they're just not playing great, right? You want to see Drew Holiday get it implemented in that lineup a little more consistently. Last night came off the bench, so they're bringing Holiday off the bench, trying different things there to get him implemented. Chris Middleton didn't play last night. Doesn't look like he's going to play tonight in their matchup. So got to see these guys get back in the lineup, get back acclimated, and yeah, there's the drama that you need, right, Drew? So we'll see when these guys can get acclimated. I do ultimately believe Milwaukee is the second or best team in the Eastern Conference when healthy, when in full chemistry, in full stride. But right now they're just not looking great. Just to recap, if you don't watch my show, I do have the Milwaukee Bucks winning the NBA championship this year. Said that since preseason, and I'm kind of riding the wave there. Number 5, we have the Cleveland Cavaliers. At 24-14, they've won 2 in a row. Obviously, that last one being the one against the Chicago Bulls with Donovan Mitchell's 71-point performance. The Cleveland Cavaliers are 7-3 in their last 10. You look at the Cleveland Cavaliers, the crazy thing about them, I talked about this earlier, they're the number 1 defensive team in the NBA. And they had a guy score 71 points, have 11 assists in one game. What do you do with a backcourt that has the scoring capability like that, especially once you get to the playoffs where guys can go on stretches, right? Donovan Mitchell, we saw it in Utah. I believe it was his rookie season when he took that Utah team to the playoffs. Might have been his second season, might have been sophomore year in the NBA, where he took over the playoffs. We've seen it from Donovan Mitchell before. So I'm not denying that. I don't deny the fact that you have a defensive anchor or 2 behind him in Darius Garland and Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. It's a great team they got there in Cleveland. Still not completely sold, but I do love the idea. I love their ceiling. I love what they could look like if they are hitting on all cylinders. Drunk on Broad podcast checking in. Appreciate you guys tuning in. What an impressive performance from Embiid in the month of December. Absolutely, Drunk Abroad. That is the reason that the Sixers are in the top 10 right now, because Embiid came back and brought them to life. He's brought them back, and they've just been playing some really, really great basketball right now. We got Philly Irish saying Grizzlies win the West. Hey, I'm not denying that. I personally, I really like the Pelicans, Drew. I really do. I don't know if Zion can stay healthy. You saw him tweak the hamstring the other night against the Sixers. Brandon Ingram hasn't been in the lineup for the last few weeks for him. So they got a lot to prove. They got to stay healthy. The Memphis Grizzlies, you kind of have to say they're the favorite right now in the West, right? They're the ones with the best record last season. They come into this season, Jarrett Jackson's a little beat up. You get him back. Now they're rising back to the cream of the crop, right? So yeah, I'm not going to argue with you there. Denver, you can argue against that, right? We've seen them flop in the playoffs. Memphis, the only thing we saw last year was Ja Morant get hurt, and we didn't get to see the finished product. So it's interesting. It's interesting. Grizzlies Sixers finals. I like it, man. I would love to see that. I would love to see Ja versus Harden, Embiid versus Steven Adams, the physical freak, right? No, it would be awesome. And you talk about the Sixers versus the Grizzlies. That's my number 7 team, the Philadelphia 76ers. They're 22-14 right now. They've won 2 in a row. They're 8-2 in their last 10. The month of December was great for them, right? You go into that month beat up, no Maxey, no Harden, no Embiid. You are at 500 for majority of the season before December. And in December, they were able to create some space from that 500 mark. And now you see them where they are right now, which is the 5th seed in the Eastern Conference. So I'm excited what lies ahead for the Sixers, getting Maxey reacclimated and really see what they can do there. Number 8, we have the New Orleans Pelicans. I talked a little bit about them to Drew earlier. They're 23-14. They've lost 2 in a row. They're 5-5 in their last 10. The only concern with the Pelicans, man, they've had some huge performances throughout the early part of the season. Obviously, going back to the Phoenix Suns back-to-back matchups, Zion scores 37 points, does the 360 windmill at the end of the game to close it out. You have the win against the Minnesota Timberwolves where Zion scores his career high 43 points. So he's had some games, right? The Pelicans have had some huge performances this season to show their potential. It's injuries, man. We got to see Brandon Ingram get back. We need to see Zion get back. Tweak that hamstring. That's very worrisome for me personally. Number 9, we have the Dallas Mavericks. You talk about one of the hottest teams in the NBA. That's the Dallas Mavericks right now. They are 22-16. They've won 7 in a row. And they're 8-2 in their last 10. I've been talking about the Dallas Mavericks a lot this season, even though they haven't been in my top 10 power rankings for majority of it. And that is because of the ceiling. You talk about Luka Doncic playing at the level that he's playing at, the 60-point triple-double, right? 60 and 20, I believe he had. So Luka Doncic can take this team wherever they need to go. We saw that last postseason when he took them to the Western Conference Finals. And honestly, I think this team is going to get better. They're trying to get new guys acclimated. Christian Wood, right? You got Tim Hardaway Jr. back. You're trying to figure things out. You lost Jalen Brunson. Spencer Dinwiddie's trying to step up for this team. There's a lot to figure out, but they're doing it. They've won 7 in a row, and this is a great start. I love what the Mavericks are doing. And finally, at number 10, we have the Clippers. They're struggling a little bit right now on a 3-game losing streak. They're 21-18. They're 5-5 in their last 10. If you want to argue and say, the Sacramento Kings deserve up there on top 10 over the Clippers, I'm not going to argue with you about it. I would just say, who are you going to pick in a series at the end of the season? Because I look at these teams, they're in about the same spot right now. Paul George getting healthier. You have Kawhi getting healthier, getting reacclimated. I think this Clippers team will pick it up and keep picking it up as the season goes on. They are definitely a top 10 team, and they're a team that you should definitely watch out for in the playoffs. With that being said, guys, that is it for my top 10 power rankings. You see them here, starting from the Clippers all the way up to the Celtics at number 1. But it's close. It's getting closer right now, right? The Eastern Conference is a little jumbled at the top between the Celtics, Nets, Bucks, Cavs, Then you have the Sixers coming in at that 5 seed. They got to catch up there. The West is a total crapshoot right now. You could look tomorrow, and the Grizzlies might be number 1, Denver number 3. It's hard to say right now with the West, the way things are fluctuating. But right now, this is where I'm at week to week, Wednesdays. And this is where we're at with the top 10 power rankings. So let us move on to one of the final segments of the show. We're going to talk about Wednesday night picks. So we got the game slate here for you guys, courtesy of ESPN. We got a 12-game slate tonight. I'm a little more excited tonight. It's a better slate than last night, only having 3 games. So we got plenty of entertainment here. We'll start right at the top left. Grizzlies at Hornets. You got the Memphis Grizzlies as 7.5-point favorites against the Hornets in this one. I'm going to go with the Grizzlies. We talked about them. They're in my top 10 power rankings. This is a no-brainer for me. I'm going to take the Grizzlies even on the road here. Next, we have the Suns at the Cavaliers. Cleveland, 5.5-point favorite at home. Could they have a little bit of a letdown? Could Donovan Mitchell have a little bit of a letdown after that huge performance? I don't see it. No Devin Booker for the Phoenix Suns right now. I'm taking the Cleveland Cavaliers. Next, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder visiting the Orlando Magic. OKC, a 1-point favorite in this one, even though it is in Orlando. It's funny because I'm actually riding with Oklahoma City Thunder, even on the tail end of a back-to-back against Orlando. I really like what the Thunder have going on. Hopefully SGA gets in tonight and we get to see some action from him. They can get the W on the road, but I got Thunder in that one. Next, we have the Pacers at the 76ers. Philly, 6.5-point favorite. That line has probably moved, I would imagine. These are screenshots from earlier. So I'd imagine that line has moved since Embiid was ruled out. Nonetheless, I'm still rolling with the Sixers in this one. Be sure, plug, tune in at 6:10. I will be back with Sixers pregame. We're going to dig into that Indiana Pacers matchup tonight. So be sure to tune in 6:10 on DSM Media. But got the Sixers in that one nonetheless. We have the Spurs at the Knicks. Knicks a 9-point favorite in this one at home. I do have the Knicks winning this one. I don't know if they're going to cover. They've been playing some suspect ball lately. Next, we have the Bucks at Raptors. In this one, we have the Bucks actually underdogs to the Raptors in this one. And I'm actually going to go with the Bucks on the road. It's a little scary. I do believe Drew Holiday is out tonight. But we saw Giannis go Herculean effort last night. I'm a believer in the Greek Freak. I think he can go Herculean effort again. And quite honestly, the Raptors haven't been playing too great of ball in the early season. So I'm going to go with the Bucks in this one on the road, even with the injuries. You can catch that one on ESPN. Next, we have the Nets and the Bulls. We have the Brooklyn Nets trying to go for 13 straight wins. They are 5.5-point favorites in this one against the Chicago Bulls. I'm riding with the hot streak. I'm riding with the Brooklyn Nets until they lose, right? They're just winning too many games. They're playing too good of basketball. Until I see them against a marquee matchup, I'm not going to be able to pick against the Brooklyn Nets. Next, we have the Portland Trailblazers at the Minnesota Timberwolves. Portland, a 1.5-point favorite in this one. Going to go with the Minnesota T-Wolves at home. I really like what they've been doing despite losing a few games here and there. I do like what they're doing as a team. I love Ant Edwards. And I feel like Portland, they're staying afloat, but they're still a team that can be beaten by a team they're not supposed to. On the road, on a late night, I'm going to go with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Next, we have the Rockets at the Pelicans in New Orleans. You got New Orleans as a 7-point favorite. That is without Zion in the lineup. No Brandon Ingram as well, I believe, tonight. So you got the Pelicans trying to take care of business at home without their stars. I'm still going to go Pels in this one. They're a great team. They're a deep team. CJ McCollum's still there. They got a lot of guys that contribute. I'm going Pelicans at home despite the injuries. Next, we have the Pistons at the Warriors. This is an easy one for me. Despite the Warriors' slow start this season, they are great at home. I'm going with the Golden State Warriors, who have picked up steam of late. We have the Miami Heat at the LA Lakers. Miami is 7.5-point favorite in this one. LeBron is out for this one. Boom. I'm going Miami on the road. And then finally, we have the Atlanta Hawks at the Sacramento Kings. Sacramento, a 1-point favorite. Coming off the big win last night in Utah, I got them taking the win at home against the Atlanta Hawks. Watch out for Kevin Huerter going against his old team. He might just light them up. With that being said, those are our Wednesday night picks. Last Wednesday, not so great. There was only 8 games. I went 3-5. I'm not proud of that, but I got to share it with you to hold myself accountable. I was 3-5 last week on my picks, but this week we are rolling with Memphis, Cleveland, Oklahoma City, Philly, New York Knicks, Milwaukee, Brooklyn, Minnesota, New Orleans, Golden State, Miami, and Sacramento. Those are going to be the Wednesday night picks. Now let's get to the best bets. Scotty Talks best bets of the night. I have 5 plays for you guys. And the first one being Tyrese Halliburton over 3.5 rebounds. It's at plus 116. That line may have moved. This is from earlier, so that was plus 116 on FanDuel. But nonetheless, I love the Halliburton over 3.5 rebounds tonight. He's actually gone over that mark in his last 2 games, and he's been way above that mark. He's been at about 7 rebounds per game in the last 2. So I like Halliburton against a weak Philadelphia rebounding team tonight. I like Halliburton to be able to grab 4 rebounds on the road. Next, we have LaMelo Ball with the Charlotte Hornets. They are squaring off early on tonight. And I have LaMelo Ball going over 4.5 threes in this one. He's plus 126 the last time I checked on FanDuel. Once again, be sure to check the updated odds. He's actually gone over that mark, the 5-3 mark in 2 of his last 3. He shoots 11 per game. I'm rolling with the volume here on a Wednesday night matchup for LaMelo Ball at home as well, right? So you got him squaring off with Ja Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies. I like that. I like superstar matchups. Whenever 2 superstars go at each other, they usually give you their best effort. So if you have any Morant odds you like tonight, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes at LaMelo's neck and vice versa. I think LaMelo tries to put on a show at home here tonight with 5+ threes at plus 126. Volume is everything there. The next one, I'm going to go with Trey Murphy from the New Orleans Pelicans. Sorry if I'm going out of order. It's different order on my sheet here. Trey Murphy over 2.5 threes at plus 110. He shoots 42.5% from the three-point line on the season. The reason I like it, especially tonight, no Zion, more volume. That's where I'm at with Trey Murphy. He's a sharp shooter. He shoots the laces off the ball. So I definitely believe he can get 3 for the Pelicans tonight, or who are going to need a little bit of extra help there, right? The next one I have is Kyrie Irving over 3.5 threes. Don't usually put money on Kyrie, but I'm laying it tonight. He's actually gone over 3.5 threes in his last 4 games. So he's eclipsed that number in the last 4 games. That was at plus 112. So be sure to check FanDuel for those odds. They may have changed since I recorded these. And then finally, last play of the night is going to be Kevin Porter Jr. from the Houston Rockets over 6.5 assists. It was at plus 114. Be sure to check your odds on FanDuel. He's actually achieved that mark in 4 of his last 5 games. We're following the trends. We're following the volume. We're going with Scotty Talks best bets of the night. You can certainly parlay them. You can round robin them. You can lay one of the 5, whatever you want to do. I will be on TikTok. I'll have everything up on there. We'll go over all of them that hit, miss, whatever the case may be. But tail at your own leisure, of course. These are going to be the best bets of the night. Let's cash some goddamn tickets. Bringing the new year right. Love this Wednesday night slate. It's jam-packed. I loved you guys tuning in with me tonight, keeping me company, giving me a little bit of feedback on what you guys think is going to take place in this NBA season. As always, guys, I hope you all have a great rest of your evening. As I mentioned, I will be right back here, probably closer to 6:15. I'm getting off a little late here. I'll be back closer to 6:15 for Sixers pregame against the Indiana Pacers, who have won 4 straight on the season. Guys, be sure to check in with me. If you don't want to check in the Sixers pregame, check me out later this week on Turf Talk, or you can find me right back here every Wednesday night around 5 p.m. to 5:15 p.m. Scotty Talks NBA. We got you covered with the entire NBA spectrum. If you got any special requests for me to cover over the next couple weeks, a special team request that you want me to dive into, definitely shoot those over to me on the social media accounts at Scotty Drown. I'm taking all requests. I love looking into things for people, for myself, to learn myself, whatever the case may be. Keep this entertaining, keep you guys involved. But guys, have a great rest of your night. Let's cash some tickets if you're tailing. If you're not, if you got your own plays, let's cash those too. I wish you all the best. Have a great rest of your evening, guys. See you in a few.